All right. Lisa, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, the impetus for this class was about 2 years ago when my colleague Caitlin Orem, who ran our oceanography program here, and we got invited to the Promoting Careers in Aquaculture program. And we had just submitted our applications, and we said, you know, we can do this as a class even before we started the program. And within a month, our principal, Dr. Burns, and the school board had approved the class, not really knowing what we were going to do with it. Uh, and we started running, and with a lot of help from the AREC. Um, we're thankful for a lot of tanks here, a lot of technical knowledge. We got launched, and we are finishing our second semester. It's been a good semester of creating curriculum and getting our feet really under us. Let me introduce our two presenters. Then I'm going to move out of the screen. This is Tawny Bowis.
Hi.
Tawny is a junior, and she is very, very science oriented, also taking some business classes here. And she is along with our TA, and,
Hello.
and is a second year aquaculture student, and assists and helps with the students. And she's been a wonderful asset to have. So with those introductions in place, I'm going to move out of the screen, let them move into the screen, and start.
All right. So first we just want to go into all the tanks we have here in the classroom. We have 12 tanks. And the first one we have three, I would say medium-sized tilapia in our first tank. And then just about a month into the course, we got 32 baby tilapia, which we both actually got from one of our local food banks here, Healthy Harvest in Warsaw. Both of them have been really cool to watch grow and develop over these past couple weeks. And we are constantly doing stuff with them, so they've been really cool to handle in the classroom. And then next we have a lot of mummy chug, which our teacher, Mr. Dickens, got from a lodge landing in Callia, one of our local creeks here in Northumberland. But when the course started, he separated us into pairs and gave us each a classroom tank. So all of the mummy chugs are separated into those classroom tanks with one reserve tank. As well in the classroom tanks, we have about 20 to 25 triploid oysters that we're expected to take care of. So those are really just the main idea in the class. And then off to the side, we have some goldfish, one croaker, and then some ornamental shrimp that we take care as well. Yeah.
Some other curricula that we've been added into our class is the Santa Fe Community College water quality. We touched on this in the beginning just to teach some of the students more about water quality and why it's important and how to do it efficiently. Another one that we're big on is the Virginia Tech curriculum. I took this a couple summers ago with Mr. Dickens with that class he was mentioning, but Tony actually just took it recently.
It's just a base of 9 units. They give us a Google Doc with a bunch of information, mainly focusing on oysters, really, and provide a bunch of videos for us to watch. And then at the end of each Google Doc, we were given a Google form to fill out as a test, and we were graded and given our certificate for completion. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
The next one we did was the Arctic University of Norway. This focused on sustainable aquaculture, and it had about 12 units, and it really had everything about aquaculture. It had the bivalves to the fish farming and to the business behind it, and that was really interesting. And at the end of that, you also received your certificate. And then the last thing that we included was the Virginia Oyster Gardening Guide from the Tidewater Oyster Gardening Association. That is the book you can see up in the right-hand corner. This was really cool to have like a physical textbook to go along with the course, and that was really oyster prominent as well.
So next we want to go into our routine that we do in all of the tanks here in the classroom every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have little test strips in the classroom with us where they test for levels of nitrate and nitrite, chlorine, hardness, alkalinity, and carbonate. We like to keep all of our data on a spreadsheet just so we can monitor on the tanks and know what's going on, and keep track of all the levels that we get. And then next we have a device called a probe that tests for the temperature, salinity, and pH. This is really important, especially for our Mumbo tanks who have the brackish water in there. We like to keep track of all the salt levels just to make sure that the Mumbo are all happy and just at the salt levels that they're at. And then next we test for ammonia, which is the NH3 and NH4. This is also a really important test. We normally like to keep levels between 0 and 0.5. If there is anything higher, will result into like a 1 or 2 inch water change. And then we don't do this daily or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We normally like to do this weekly, just suction out all the poop and other debris with our siphon just to keep everything clean. That also decreases all of the ammonia and nitrate levels that we can get. And then, like I said before, we have each a classroom tank that has our oysters in there. So we feed them an algae mix, which is up to 10 milliliters, and we just like to dilate that in the water just so that they're happy and fed throughout the week. And then finally, we give all of them a mixture of fish food and fish pellets. Our smaller fish can't eat the floating pellets, so we like to grind up food for them, and then our big tilapia are able to eat the floating pellets.
And with our baby tilapia, because they're growing, we actually have an automatic feeder that students set up for when we're on breaks or weekends to just make sure they're fed and growing. Other recent projects that we've been doing is our brine shrimp and our algae. You can see our system that we set up in the corner with 6 beakers and air flowing through them. We started with the brine shrimp just to make sure the system was working. We grew them and fed them to the tilapia and the mummy chog. About 5 out of 6 beakers were successful, so it was a win in my opinion. And it was really cool to see how they grew and how quickly they did. And then we've later used this system for our algae. We use our SD Aquarius algae from the company Reed Mariculture. This is the same algae that we were feeding our oysters, but we wanted to see if we could self-sustain and start growing it on our own like we saw at the Virginia Tech and VIMS Center. Unfortunately, this was unsuccessful. The algae, we weren't sure if it was growing or not, and it turned weird colors, and we just wanted to make sure our oysters were getting the healthy food that they needed to grow, and we didn't want to harm them in any way. So we ended up not using this.
One of my favorite projects that we had this year was one of our medium-sized tilapia from Healthy Harvest actually had pop eye on his eyes. We think it happened from transferring during the summer. We kept our fish in a separate room downstairs, so the first 2 weeks of school we had to move them back upstairs. So we think it may moving the tanks, he hit the side of the tank or the biofilter in the tank. Something resulted into him having this disease Popeye, which you can see in the picture. So we immediately separated him into a hospital tank and used a RO system, meaning reverse osmosis system, just to clear out any of the contaminated stuff in the water that we don't know of. Normally there isn't anything in there, but we just like to keep sure and so we can know everything that's going in there. And then we did some research and we found this medicine called Canaplex where we treated that to the eye. We would dilate it into the water. We used that for about 3 to 4 weeks and it seemed to clear him up pretty quickly. We then moved him back into the tank with his other friends and learned that it was mating season. So that was a bad idea. They were very vicious to each other. So we moved him back over, but gradually we started moving him back, and now he seems pretty happy and clear from the disease. So that was pretty cool to watch. And then, like I said before, we got our baby tilapia about a month into the course, so they have been really good and easy to handle, and just grow overall. We had a teacher come here from King George talking about how her baby tilapia are growing rapidly, and we weren't getting the same results. So when we went to Healthy Harvest just yesterday, we were asking around, and It was our temperature is not too low. So right now we keep our levels from about 60 to 64, and she said they need to be to about 70 to 74. So we're very excited to see how that change is going to affect the growth in our baby tilapia
Yeah.
this spring.
With our oysters, we got these from the Tidewater Oyster Gardeners Association. And like Tawny mentioned earlier, we have our classroom tanks. So there's 6 classroom tanks, and students are paired up to work on a tank together. These include about 6 mummy chog and about 20 to 25 triploid oysters. And so it kind of mimics the river where they came from. But we measured these, we got them in late September, and we have measured them 3 times. Unfortunately, we didn't see much growth with them, but it was interesting. We did, however, not many of them died, so that was a good thing. But we didn't see much growth with them. But it was really cool to see how the triploid grew. And then we also have diploid oysters who are in with our croaker tank, and they have also not grown drastically. But we feed this that SD Aquarius algae that I mentioned earlier.
So one of our first of many field trips that we went on this year was to the Virginia Seafood Aquaculture Research and Extension Center in Hampton. There we really focused on the ornamental fish breeding and business from Steve Urich. That to me was really cool because it really, instead of just giving a stereotypical job of aquaculture being on the water 24/7, it gave a sense that you can breed fish, pretty fish, and make a business and a profit off of it. I thought that was really cool because when everyone thinks of aquaculture, you're thinking of being on the water 24/7, oystering and all that kind of stuff. But I found that part most interesting. And then we were able to take a tour of the whole thing and see all the labs that they have and all the different rooms and systems they have with all the different fish. I know in one room they were trying to grow algae, and
Yes.
that's where we inspired and thought we did some of
Yeah.
that. So
We also got to go into their room with their recirculating system, which is really cool to see how they test different experiments at their facility to make sure all the controls are the same in their experiments and to make sure that the data that they're getting is actually truth to what they're changing. And one of the experiments that she explained to us was they had salmon and they were in a different salinity and they were testing if the amount of salt in their food could affect the amount of salinity that they could live in. And it actually ended up working. And that was just really cool to hear about it. And it was really cool to see the systems that they use. And we actually have a guppy system, which is a recirculating system that we're setting up for the spring semester, which kind of mimics what they had.
So the second field trip that we went on this year was to the Virginia State University and Randolph Farm. That really based off of the outside facilities and the ponds, and especially the high density tilapia. I know most of our students really like that,
Yeah.
seeing all the fish. I do want to mention though, in one of the ponds, they were growing freshwater hybrid striped bass, which us and Mr. Dickens was very interested in. It's something that we're looking to do in the spring. I think it would be very cool. Normally they're raised in brackish water, so to be in fresh water was very interesting. Along with that, we were able to go into the greenhouse, which was showed all kinds of aquaponics systems. We got to see how the water runs through all the pipes and are able to grow all these plants in the high density ponds, like I said before.
Yeah, their outside system, like the system at Hampton, they had many ponds and they were all the same to keep the controls the same. And they showed us, we actually got a chance to feed them. And as you can see, the dye in the water, they taught us that the dye actually affects how much growth is at the bottom, the plant growth. And then, like Tony said, a high density tilapia tank that they had, many students were interested in them. And as we talked about before with Popeye, when we reintroduced him back into the tank, they were fighting a little bit because it was mating season. And we actually learned that because they were so highly dense and we got to see how big they could get, that they couldn't fight each other because they couldn't pick one to do. So when our baby tilapia grow to full size, hopefully we won't have that problem because there are so many of them.
So the third field trip that we went on was one of my favorites was to the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. There they really focused on the science behind aquaculture. We were able to see where they started from and where they came to today and what their plan is to do in the future. Um, Another good part about it was we got to see the this different oystering farming systems there. We were able to see the long line baskets, and here in Cockles Creek, a lot of our local businesses use the bottom cages, so we were able to relate to that. And then I think the most interesting one to me was the flip farm, and all the technology behind it. There's these baskets that float on top, and they have technology in boats now where you can manually flip, instead of doing it manually, they can flip it for you. So all of the barnacles and nasty stuff at the bottom are able to dry out. Um, I think that was the most efficient one,
Yeah,
really, with all
definitely.
the technology. And then overall, just the oyster breeding there, I thought that
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
in the middle picture there, it shows they were showing us the different life cycles of an oyster, and we got to see what they did with each oyster each step of the way. So, of course, the adult oysters were out in the creek, but we got to see all the different systems that they used to grow these oysters efficiently and how they bred them. And that was just really cool to see. And then in our lab in the bottom picture, we got to go into one of their labs, and that was definitely one of the most fascinating parts. They had
Mhm.
lots of amazing technology that they showed us, and they explained to us how it works. And there they did a lot of work with the diseases in the Chesapeake Bay affecting our oysters and how we can help them and what is the science, what's like the deep science behind trying to heal those.
Yep. And then back to the first picture again. That was just a rotating, I don't know the correct word for it, but the rotating oystering system, or like
The tube.
tube.
Yeah.
It was just a big, large tube that ran water through it, and it was able to size the oysters of how big they were. If you look closely, you can see the different holes as you went down the tubes. There was different sizes of the holes where the oysters were able to fall through. So not only would it clean the oysters, but it would size them for you, which I thought that was pretty cool. And
Yeah.
we got to see that in action.
Yeah, and then Tawny, actually, when we were talking about the diseases, that actually inspired Tawny to write her
Mhm.
paper that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Mr. Dickens was talking about this before it started, but all we were expected to do a toga writing competition about considering the oysters, and one of our creeks here in Reedville, Cockles Creek, is condemned from harvesting oysters. So was very inspired by
Yeah.
that and decided to write about that in my
Yeah.
paper.
At Omega Protein, this is a field trip that we went on just recently, and actually was really unique because it was right there in our community. So it was only a 15-minute drive, and we got to see this huge facility that really impacts our community. But we really focused on the careers at Omega and Cook and how they hire from right here in Northumberland. And it just is an amazing opportunity for our small town.
If you truly have not seen a video of how Omega works, you should definitely go watch it. But we can explain it pretty
Yeah.
shortly. They have this big mother boat or mothership with at the back they have two little purse boats. And my grandfather runs Tangier Cruises in Reedville, so how he likes to describe it is it's like a lady's purse. They open around the big school of fish, and then
Mhm.
they close just like a lady's purse, and trap all the fish in there. And then they have this big suction tube on the mothership where they can suction up all the fish and transport it back into the facility, the
Yeah,
factory
and
in
they
Reedville.
also have spotter pilots that are
Mhm.
the ones who spot the schools of menhaden for them to catch. But after they go back to the facility, we got to learn all about their processing and how sustainable they are because it is a hot topic right now, but we were reassured they were very sustainable. They use every part of the fish, and so that was just really interesting to see from their
Mhm.
perspective. But we got to see their fish processing. We got to go into the room, the facility where they house their fish meal, and then we got to go into their oil refinery and see the different steps of how they create the Virginia Gold oil and how the layers are separated and how it becomes all the different things and what it is put into like dog food and equine feed and supplements and women's cosmetics. And it was just
Mhm.
really cool to see all the different products that they were used into. And so you could go home and pick out your dog food and be like, oh, this actually comes from Reedville. So that was really cool.
Yeah, one other thing that they hit on really bigly is how much they impact our community and how much they really focus on locals. I know one guy who was speaking there, and he said almost all of his employees were from Northumberland High School. So that was kind of cool, and just being like knowing that our community has our back and
Yeah.
that they contribute to us.
Yes.
So the last field trip that we went on was just yesterday to Healthy Harvest. That was really cool. We actually just learned that they're catering to our school with all of the greenery and they're making us a salad bar. That was really interesting. Another thing that we can relate to very easily. Healthy Harvest also has a large engagement with the community. I know the speaker there was talking about how one of the local colleges, they have a lot of internships that will come there and just help with the plumbing system, help with all that stuff. I know she's done some projects with our local governor's school there.
Yeah.
So it's just very cool to see how much really aquaculture gets back to our community.
Yeah, and it was also a different side of aquaculture, which is aquaponics. And we got to see their huge tilapia tanks and see where our baby tilapia and, of course, Popeye came from. And it was just really cool to see the system and how it works. They have these big tanks full of tilapia, and they take the nutrients and bio waste from that, and they either feed it to a large pond with a pallet on top where the plant roots are sitting in the water, or they also have tables where the water runs underneath and it reaches the roots of the plants. And it was really cool to see how much these plants are flourishing and how much food they can truly grow there. And they also are starting to use catfish too. And we also have a small aquaponics system here that we set up at one point.
Last
Yeah,
semester.
we set it up last semester. So it was really cool to see how those connected.
And then lastly, we just want to talk about our upcoming projects in the spring. Sadly, we do not have an aquaculture class, but we have three students, me and Anne being two of them, that are moving into different classes with Mr. Dickens. Anne mentioned this before, but we do have a guppy farm being set up right now by one of our engineering students. So we plan to use the information that Steve Urich mentioned from the Hampton trip, and hopefully we can become successful in that. And then once again with our baby tilapia, with this new information that we learned yesterday, we're really excited to see the different results on what the growth change is with our baby tilapia. And then you want to talk about?
Yes, so we also have our goldfish here, which we can take our information that again we learned from Hampton, and we're actually going to put those in our greenhouse for the winter and then bring them back. So simulating that cold to warm, hopefully we'll get them to breed. And then I am in his robotics class next semester, and we're really pursuing the AI imaging in aquaculture, like we mentioned before. But at Omega, we actually got the opportunity to hear someone speak about how they're connected. Omega is connected with a company named Cook, and they have places all over the world, salmon farms, and he was explaining to us how the AI is connected with the salmon farms, and there's cameras all over the pens that is able to count the fish very quickly, very efficiently, instead of having to manually go and pick out every single fish and count them. So that's going to be really cool to see how me and the other student, Landon, will connect both of these classes together. I'm really excited for that.
And then lastly, I will be in chemistry. So we're planning to process our own tilapia feed. With the oils that we learned about at Omega, we plan to blend that in with a bunch of other supplements like corn, soy, wheat,
barley,
all that kind of stuff. And hope to make our own food to self-sustain a lot of things. So.
Yeah. I would just like to thank Mr. Dickens for making this opportunity possible. And I am also happy that I got to take this class a second time because it is my favorite part of the day.
Truly, we were given a lot of opportunities to do throughout this course and a lot of things to go see in person.
Yeah.
And so it just opened up a whole new world of aquaculture and all of the business and all that kind of cool stuff. So
yeah. Thank you.
And invite them to ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like
any questions?
I don't know how to ask. There's stuff in the chat also.
Well, if anyone has questions, if you want to just either raise your hand or pop them in the chat, we'll get them over to Anne and
I'll raise a hand. How about a manual hand?
okay, no.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, fantastic job, both of you.
Thank you.
Very entertaining. You guys had a nice broad experience, and I can see that you grasped a lot of the concepts. So congratulations to the team, the educators, and everybody that was involved in the process. two questions. One, you talked a little bit about water quality. Can you tell me about the relationship between pH and ammonia?
Ooh. Um,
So, oh my gosh.
You got it.
As
You got
as they look over to the instructor, we touched on that very briefly.
Okay, okay.
And that, if the pH drops too far, it's going to increase the effects of the tan. So we monitor pH, at least twice a week, and oddly enough, have not had to adjust to bring it up. And I'm not quite sure why we've not had any pH difficulties.
and same with the ammonia, really. Our ammonia really went up in our waters when we included the oysters. But once the oysters started filter feeding throughout the water, we noticed that our ammonia went down a lot.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Nitrates and
So,
nitrate.
yeah.
Excellent. So maybe this afternoon or at some point, take a look at the just Google or something, the relationship between pH and ammonia. Very, very important. And then a general question. You talked a little bit about hydroponics, aquaponics. Can you tell me anything about IMTA or integrated multi-trophic aquaculture?
Is that what we have? The beads?
Bees.
No. And
I'm sorry.
sir, I don't even know about that.
Okay, well, you had it.
Okay.
It's where you grow different trophic levels of animals in the same system. So
Oh,
if you have
okay.
if you have tilapia in a tank and then you're running that water through plants, that's an integrated multi-trophic system.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you. Very good.
Thanks, Michael. We have a question in the chat. It says, what temperature are you raising the oysters at? They don't eat much when it is cold.
I think our normal range is in the 70s, really.
No, I would think it's closer to this, like high
High 60s. High
Yeah.
60s.
We had a heater in with our mummy chog tanks, but then the heaters kind of went a little crazy, and we would do a water change, and the heaters would be out of the water for maybe 2 minutes, and they would start heating up, and they would heat up the plastic. So that was just too dangerous, and we ended up taking them out.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. First, I want to say awesome job. That was a great presentation. You have a tremendous
you.
grasp of the subjects. Both of you speak very, very well. So congratulations on that. Awesome job. But my question is, you mentioned that your oyster spat or your baby oysters didn't really have any measurable growth from
Yes.
September to December. Do you have any thoughts as to why they didn't grow?
I not sure. When all of our classroom tanks were feed the same amount of algae each day. So it's
Yes.
not like none were getting some, or
Yeah.
it was very equal in that point. And we
We-
noticed that like some were eating
Yeah.
and some weren't.
Some tanks we would come in the afternoon, and they would still have the algae clearly in the water column from the day before. And then some other ones would be completely clear. So, Mr. Dickens, do you know any?
Well, I
There-
don't have a hypothesis yet on
Yeah.
why they didn't grow, unless we heat up the water and see if that.
Well,
will help.
another factor could be some days we would come in and notice our mummy chug had covered the oysters with their sand at the bottom. So we thought maybe that could be a factor too. And then we noticed.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you observe the feeding and the feeding rates. In water quality, do you measure calcium?
We don't, but we did at one point.
Carbonate.
We
Carbonate.
added the carbonate.
Okay.
What did we?
Oh, yeah, we added aragonite into the sand
Yes.
to provide a
Mhm.
carbonate source.
Well, oysters, when they grow, just like corals, they're taking a tremendous amount of calcium out of the water
Mhm.
to create their shells. And so that might be something in the future if you work with oysters, especially, growing them from baby oysters, that you measure the calcium level and make sure you have adequate
Thank you.
calcium.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
again, fantastic job. That's very just well presented, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got one or two more coming in from the chat. First, Emily wants to know what surprised you the most while you were first learning about aquaculture? And then did you experience change? Did your experience change any preconceptions that you had about aquaculture? So what surprised you the most? Any changed feelings?
What surprised me the most? Probably how often they really, I don't know. You know, we were both born and raised on the water, so I think we were both very familiar with it.
Yeah.
But just getting into really the depth of aquaculture was really cool. So I think we were all very familiar with it, but
Yeah, I
just-
think the aquaponics was definitely
Oh,
the
yeah.
most fascinating to me. And it was just amazing to see how that system works and how like it was so successful.
And it definitely changed for me.
I think a lot of students can relate. In the beginning of the class, we learned when they had when they heard that they had to suck out the poop like every single week. I think that they were all a little off-putting by that, but in the end, everyone was like, "Oh, okay, just another thing." So
I mean, you kind of grow like a special love for all your tanks because you're spending the whole semester with 10 to 12 mommy chugs and the tilapia and the baby tilapia and the oysters. So, like, you just create this special love for it, and it's hard to let go.
Popeye will definitely be near and dear to our
Yeah.
hearts.
And so, when you spend every day with them.
Okay.
Thanks. And then let's see. I'm gonna go up one. After this exposure, are there any students considering careers in aquaculture? So maybe Gary, if first you two, and then if anybody else has expressed that they are looking at careers in aquaculture after this class.
We actually just had, what was his name? I forget who just.
Oh, Mr. Allen from the Bay Consortium.
Mr. Allen from the Bay Consortium come, and he is, I forget how to explain his title.
Career development.
Career development, and he talked a lot about us, about how he gave us some opportunities in aquaculture and some job opportunities with papers for resumes and everything. And he did explain a lot about that, and I think some students were interested in it. But do you know anything else?
Speak to Tawny for a second.
I definitely see myself doing something in aquaculture. I don't know what route I want to go in yet. But honestly, just this class itself has introduced me into so many different things. And like I said, you create this special love with all your fish, and now I feel like I can't do anything without it. So,
Yeah.
I definitely see myself going into aquaculture in the future.
I also can see that. I love how hands-on it is and about how we're doing stuff every single day. We're touching the water, we're touching the fish, we're doing our tests, and it's just really to see the data that comes up with that and how you just get to actually do something in real life every day. Do you know any other students?
So let me just say it. So these two young ladies are kind of our proteges here. Most of the other students have other aspirations as they head off. Again, we've got a young man who is just brilliant in engineering, who will be our TA for robotics. And several of our students are doing trades at the tech center. So it's really a variety. But of the past 2 years, Anne and Tawny are the two that are most directed towards aquaculture.
Yeah. And I also had the opportunity to work at Sabadoos Farms, which is a oystering house, and I really did like it there. It was an internship that I got after the Virginia Tech course over the summer that me and Mr. Dickens did with his other teachers. And that was really interesting. It was a really unique experience, but I learned that oystering is a little bit too repetitive for me. You just look at a lot of oysters and just power wash a lot. So I learned that side of aquaculture was not for me, but it was a really interesting experience.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing all that. And we have a good segue into the next question, which is
Hey, Lisa, Mark
Yeah.
Taggle, you had unmuted. Did you have a question? Yeah, I had a kind of a comment and a question. Um, First of all, great job, guys. Excellent. There was a time when I was the hatchery manager out at Blue Ocean Mariculture in Kona, Hawaii, and we grew Seriola. And I took on a batch of interns from a high school to do a grading for just a week and needed them to sort fish. But it is a good success story. One of the kids there was really into it. He's like, I want to come back. And so then I taught him live feeds, and then he became our live feeds tech, and then our live feeds lead, and then uh, he got scouted out and headhunted away to a huge shrimp farm in Indonesia, someplace. So
Wow.
all from a high school intern.
Yeah.
Um,
That's very
so
cool.
yeah. But my question is, and I apologize if you went over this, I was bouncing in between two different meetings. I've done a lot of work in aquaculture and in kind of the end product of aquaculture. So have you guys looked at any of do you guys eat your product? Have you consumed any of it?
So,
Do you enjoy the taste? And this might be more for the teachers. Was there any looking at partnering up with culinary programs in the area to look at utilizing the products of aquaculture for cooking purposes?
actually, at our trade center, Botech, which our many students here go to, we do have a culinary program. So that would definitely be something to look forward to in the future.
Yeah.
We haven't necessarily thought about eating.
yeah.
I know when Popeye was sick,
Yeah.
if he was going to reach that point, we were gonna dissect it as one of our projects, and
Yeah. If he did end up passing away, which
yeah,
thankfully
which
didn't,
he didn't, but that's something really cool that we can
Yeah.
do in the next year or two.
We-
know.
Our kitchen downstairs is looking at, working with Healthy Harvest. Greens are going to be coming in this next semester. They have at the tech center served tilapia from Healthy Harvest. I don't know that our folks downstairs are quite ready to go to that level, because at the tech center they were given whole fish and were taught to dress them. And we haven't gotten to that point in this class,
Yeah.
whereas eating our own work.
One of the high schools that I work with up here, I'm in Washington State. I introduced them to an aquacultured sablefish, and they had a competition culinary cooking team. And they took that fish and they won regionals, states, and got invited to nationals and placed top 20. So the culinary overlap is really there with especially in high school settings. So, but anyway, great job. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You have very good success stories. You go a long way, yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Back in the chat, we have how many students are involved in the project, and have you had trouble keeping interest in the program? A couple of people wondering about that.
I think between the both semesters, we've had about 30.
We've had 30.
30 students in both semesters. So I don't think there's any problem in that. A lot of kids here take it as a extra class, just to have here at the high school. I don't think we have trouble keeping interest. No.
Yeah.
I think a lot of students see this, and like me and Anne and our engineering student, a lot of people just see it and run with it. Like Anne, she's been in here for 2 years now.
I really did like it. But I think it's like a different opportunity. Instead of sitting at a screen staring at your computer all day, you actually see live fish and you get to test different things on them and change the temperature and see if they grow more and add medicine to the tilapia and see if he's healed. So it's really cool to see how it steps and grows. So I think students do like that.
And the large amount of field trips.
Do you know how to keep it exciting? What do you is asking how to keep it exciting.
The field trips.
Oh,
The field trips? Oh yeah.
Field trip.
They
There
are-
we go on. I'm telling they're so you're outside all day and you're looking at fish. It's
it's a unique experience, definitely.
Thanks. And then if a teacher or group of students was to start a project, what do you think is the easiest one to get started out of what you guys have done?
Our goldfish and our
Goldfish.
tilapia, we've had those for multiple years. Definitely.
Yeah, goldfish and tilapia are survivors. The biggest, and I'm just going to talk into the side. The toughest thing with the program is getting animals that will survive over breaks. You need something that can go a long weekend without any maintenance, 4-day weekend, 5-day weekend. One of our failure, I don't want to say failure, but one of our learning experiences last year was that we had inherited some trout, some gorgeous trout, and we needed them to get through spring break. And I came in on a Tuesday and took care of them. Came back on a Friday and could not get into the building. And we came to the school that Monday after break. And the principal wanted to know what that smell was that was permeating the high school. And so again, learning curves. But as far as species that are really tough, the goldfish, the tilapia, the oysters do very, very well. What's our third species? The blue velvet shrimp are easy keepers. Do anybody? Oh my goodness, the mummy chug. They are armor plated. Go to some brackish water when it's warm and trap some mummy chug. They're free and they're bulletproof.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. And then a couple more questions. Just, is your school considering an advanced level 2 course?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. More information on that. We'll have another webinar now.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of questions about the funding. So how the program was funded, and do you guys have adequate funding to sustain and grow in the coming years?
I think that's what it is.
That would be myself. We have had such good support as far as donations. I have a small pot of money here to dip it into, and I only dipped into it a little bit this past semester because of donations, because of learning to use inexpensive species. And so funding has not been the issue. Now, I will dip into that pot as we go into robotics. Virginia Tech, Dr. Feng has created this oyster sorting machine that he says can be built for $1,000. And so I'll dip into my pot for that as we go to tech next February and learn how to build that sorter. But yeah, the learning curve, the toughest part has been learning what species we can get through breaks. Money has not been an issue.
Excellent. That is it's not the most common answer, but it's a good one. As far as money not being an issue, we have David says the success of these high school programs hinges on the passion of the teacher. Seems like teachers move around like the wind. As an extension professional who has supported high school aquaculture education for 25 plus years, I would like to know what the Extension Network can do to support programs like yours. Would it be beneficial to connect a network of schools engaged in similar programs?
Yeah. Networking is key. Building that network of people that you can tap for technical knowledge that may have surplus that can go to a program that can benefit. And from our point here, from our in the classroom and lab, now that we've developed this program, and the third iteration next year will really be, I consider a course kind of at a stable place in its third year, maybe fourth year. next year will be our year to disseminate what we're learning. Actually, we've started kind of today with this webinar. But yeah, it's our time now to give back because we've learned a tremendous amount in the past 2 years.
Excellent. So I think that's all the questions I'm seeing. If anybody else wants to raise their hand or shout out. I have Dennis wants to know if you have any advice as we look to build a similar program in Delaware.
Oh.
I mean, I would just, you have to be very confident in what you're doing. And I know for me, as my first year, when I walked in every day, I don't know, I had a brand new, like, I had an idea for everything. Like, I wanted to move Popeye back really early. Like, I just wanted to experiment a lot of things. And I think you have to have the love to do that. Like, you have to want to try new things. You have to want to experiment. You have to want to reach out and step out your comfort zone when you're trying new things with fishes. And I think that's the key to having a successful program. And
don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes.
And don't think you're too good not to learn, because that is definitely not the case in this classroom. Do you have anything else?
Yeah. Again, on this idea of we're about at the point to give back to the community. This year, the first year was about putting in infrastructure, learning what we could grow, getting tanks going, those kind of technical learning curves. This past year was about curriculum, looking to see what was out there, following a model like the Arctic University of Norway, their online program that they have built. Being so grateful for Virginia Tech's program that they released. And so, as far as sending this knowledge elsewhere, probably again after that third draft, I'd be glad to help other school districts set up. And we'll send Ann and Tawny to be their technical advisors.
And then David, you had your hand up?
Yeah. Congratulations, guys. It sounds like you're off to a great start. I just want to make you aware of a couple resources. There is and it may already be on the exchange, but I have a YouTube channel called Aquaculture Education and More. That some folks may be familiar with, and I know that Jackson Gross has a great YouTube channel as well. I think it's called What is Aquaculture? That might provide ideas and assistance with curriculum. But the World Aquaculture Society for a number of years has had a group of extension and university folks that have been interested in helping these programs. And if we can find out, either through the exchange or directly what kinds of things you need in terms of particularly information and support, we would be happy to work with the schools, not just in your area, but across the country.
wow, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll definitely look into that.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. And it's someone mentioned that Jackson's YouTube is Aquaculture, if you guys want to look that one up as well.
Okay.
I just want to let you know, if you haven't gotten to read the chat, there are lots of comments saying how wonderfully you guys did. I would like to echo that. I think you did a wonderful presentation. It was very engaging.
Thank you.
There's also a shameless plug here from Jay saying, if you guys found your way into this webinar without being on the AIE, please take the time to sign up if you're interested in stuff like this. And not seeing any other hands. Do you guys have any questions for the people in this room? You've got a bit of a brain trust here.
Oh, we do.
Before I let them all go.
Just overall, like how, I don't know, how you made a career out of it, or like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Would someone like to share their career path into aquaculture? Any volunteers?
See Michael Schwartz with his hand
I
up.
can jump in. I was kind of the same as you, but I didn't have a starter like this. I went in high school in Florida. I just was fishing and surfing and sailing, and I got into aquarium. So I would start putting fish that I caught into the aquarium in my bedroom
Uh-huh.
and learned how to do it. A course like this would have been awesome. And just to be real quick, I know a lot of the folks on this, there's a lot of fantastic stories. I graduated high school. I tried engineering, failed miserably. Always liked fish, so then I went to marine biology, loved it, realized there's only one Jacques Cousteau or a couple of sons, so not a lot of jobs there. Learned about aquaculture, went into aquaculture, graduated, designed and built one of the first large marine fish farms in the US in Texas. Did that for
Oh,
about
wow.
7 years, indoor tanks, hatchery, feed, everything. And then after that, decided I wanted to get into a field where I could help industry grow. Virginia Tech was looking for someone to start a marine aquaculture program. So I interviewed, was hired, and that's 30 years ago. So that's my
Wow.
story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael. Mark, I saw you on mute. You want to?
Yeah, so I got a good one. People always ask me what are the best things I could do for a career in aquaculture. So in addition to studying and learning about fish, if at all possible, learn how to drive a forklift, get really proficient in plumbing, and then take a couple cooking classes because those things have actually helped me advance the farthest in any of the aquaculture work that I've done. But
And I mean, right now, me and Ann are both in our jobs that we do in the summer.
Yeah.
We're both surrounded by water. I work on at Buzzards Point Marina down there in Reedville, so I'm near forklifts all the time, and I'm on boats all the time going to Tangier. So
Yes.
I think we're both pretty surrounded by it. It's just the path of getting there and pursuing what we can.
Yeah,
So.
my only obstacle is what do I want to pursue exactly? Like, I know the field, I just am not sure which direct path to take. But thank you.
yeah, I tell you that forklift thing. Come in because there's going to be like a dozen other applicants that went to college and they know how to feed oysters and grow artemia. But if you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm forklift certified," there you go. So-
Good. Okay, I will note that.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else words of wisdom before we break?
Yeah, this is David again. I started, I didn't have any kind of program like this in high school. I think you guys are really lucky. But when I did go to college, I was studying biology and eventually got hooked up with some people in New Hampshire doing oyster culture. And when I realized that a single oyster could spawn, 1 million+ babies, and they were getting 50 cents a piece for them, I thought that might be a pretty good business. Um, but I started looking for the best schools in the country and ended up at Auburn University studying freshwater and catfish. So my goal was to manage a fish farm, and as as pointed out, learning how to drive a tractor, fixing things, plumbing, those are all really important skills. But I managed a catfish farm for a couple of years and learned that I was not cut out for country living, which is where most of the aquaculture occurs. So those are all important things to look at, but I would take any experience you can get, visit any facility, talk to as many people as you can. There's over 600 different species being cultured worldwide, and it's not just, you can think beyond the US as well. Aquaculture is actually growing faster outside of the US than it is inside the US, unfortunately. But so just take any opportunity you can to visit any of these places or with any of the professionals you can find, or once you get up to it, or if it comes to your area. And I think our meeting is in Seattle in a couple of years. The Aquaculture America meeting will be in Seattle, where it brings together 1,000 or to 4,000 aquaculture professionals that would give you a really great networking opportunity.
Yeah, thank
Cool.
you. Is
Yeah.
that what you went to last year, or that?
When the New Orleans
Oh,
conference.
okay.
All right. And I'll get you guys the comments from the chat. There's a lot there talking about going into extension work or where people grew up. So I'll make sure you have access to those. It's
Okay.
12:56. So if anybody else has a last minute thought, otherwise we'll wrap it up and give you your 4 minutes back.
All right.
All right, great job again. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us
Thank
about
you,
your
guys.
experience.